do that is back to my first video. The way that they make those decisions are profits. They look around the system and they see that.
Well, that's just a stupid example because leather is a byproduct, and so the price that goes into leather isn't for the raw material, it's for the processing of the raw material, because the raw material is basically a byproduct of the growth of cows for other purposes.
Profits are being made in some sort of industry, or if they want to experiment and go into a new type of industry or service, they will experiment. They will take risks to make those profits because they know that those profits can be made. Hayek made a really fascinating quote, and again I'm paraphrasing, where he said that what profits do is they're signals to people how best to serve others, how best to serve.
Yeah, no one does that too. Salary increases, potential for advancement, the capacity to get to the position of ownership, and by having a system that basically locks people out. Effectively, by driving wages down, by forcing people to keep competing with desperation. Okay, so all wages end up start to chase that desperation. Yeah, that's driving incentive out of the system, not putting incentive into the system.
Other people that you've never met. I may never know somebody. I may be a store owner. I may never know people who come into my store. But the fact that I'm making a profit demonstrates that I'm serving people because they are coming and they find the goods and services that I'm providing necessary.
Yeah, well, and right, and so I can take that model and I can say, well, why is there no other competitive choice? Why am I stuck with this provider? And the answer might be because it's William Randolph Hearst. The answer might be is because nobody can get into that market because it's like one of the Google guys, his wife has a genetic engineering business. Now, if you were a venture capitalist and you knew a great scientist and he said, look, I can do this genetic thing, I got it down. Are you really going to compete? Are you going to sit there and say, I'm going to invest my money in this guy and I'll go fight this Google guy wife? Because you know they're going to be able to lose money. You know that they're going to be able to compete in the market in a way you're not going to be able to do it. Okay, but you're going to need to make money every year or you're going to be out of business. So the model is not pure. This is not science. This is chaos and mush, and it has huge liabilities. The cost of, like I said, this game you're playing, this competition isn't free. Every bit of blood spilled, every loser comes at a social price. Okay, when a business goes out of business, okay, there's a huge amount of money lost to the economy. Okay, through that transition where now you have to sit there and resell this, and you have to get rid of all these you have to basically flood the market with a bunch of cheap crap, that destroys the market value of the business for another year. I mean, it creates huge liabilities that we end up paying for in the long run because it gives a business that can survive all of that huge advantage. Because there's going to be times when it's going to be able to hugely exploit what has been something else's failure.
And if I'm making a loss, then it's a signal to me that I need to get out of that industry because people obviously don't want that, and I can serve my neighbor better.
Google lost money for 2 years, so it should have got out of business. Is that your stupid argument? No, the argument doesn't make any sense because it is all arbitrary, and that was the plan. What did Google do? Google came into a market, okay, because it had Stanford money, had a bunch of venture capital, and they said, okay, let's play this game. Let's play this search engine game. And it gave it all away for free, right? So companies that were financed by companies that actually had to make money, okay? I mean, they are all of a sudden, they're saying, okay, well, now our ad-driven self-financing model of a search engine is no longer valid because now we have to compete with something that's giving it away for free. So we have no economic model anymore. We have no capacity to survive in this market anymore. And so Google killed everything that was around, everything, okay, because nothing was going to survive. And nothing could be invested in. How can you compete with free? It's impossible.
That particular way. Now, your instance with the heirloom or with personal items in effect that might be much more valuable to you, or even infinitely more valuable, it doesn't change that situation. In that particular one-on-one transaction, you value a particular good much more valuable than other people, and therefore that's taking place with all goods and services, is that individuals have individual knowledge on what they need in their particular situation, and it always is changing. It's always changing on what's...
And it's changing by, as I pointed out, psychology that's being deliberately and willfully manipulated. They're wasting money. Businesses are wasting money on this marketing game. They're not saying we're going to make a product and we're going to show people that it's good. They're saying how can we make a product and give them the illusion that it's more than it is. Okay? Well, yes, let's paint it the right color. Let's put the right logo on it. Maybe even we can get somebody to write a song about it. Maybe we can try some other way to make this some sort of part of social infrastructure. Make it a brand name. And it's all bullshit. There's no value to the human race. There's no value to the customer. It's just a bunch of brains wasting time figuring out not how to make the business more efficient or make the product work better, just to make it more sellable. Make it more sucker people. See how you can sucker people with it.
more valuable for individuals, and that is what is changing the supply and demand over time. Now, your talk about a corporation. What if, you made an analogous situation. What if a corporation is more or less cornering the market on a particular resource or a particular good or a particular service and charging what you believe is much more than what it's really worth? There's no such thing as what it's really worth. They are charging what is based on supply and demand. If they corner the entire market and there's still supply and demand that exists.
Okay, well, explain to me then. Okay, so Google is supply and demand. We're paying the market price for an ad click, right? They don't have a corner on the market, even though they have 80 or 90, well, 90% of the market cornered. They don't have control, so much control over the market, and their voice isn't so loud that some little competition could just pop up out of nowhere and just say, see, we can undercut you. That can happen realistically. It's where all the eyeballs are. It's like YouTube. How is it easy to compete with YouTube? I mean, we know YouTube isn't the most efficient way to do this video providing service, right? I mean, it's got huge liabilities, it's huge brokennesses. 600 videos can disappear in one day. Huge amounts of content can just disappear. So this is a shitty model. But how does somebody compete with this tomorrow? How much capital do they have to invest to get into the ball game? And then when they're in the ball game, how many years can Google lose money? Okay, so I mean, you again could be caught in a scenario where your competition is giving it away for free because they can. And you're stuck with the idea that I got to make money or I'm bankrupt. So bullshit. There's any fair competition. Bullshit that we're paying the best price for the best product. Bullshit.
They just have the supply. They just control all the supply. Now, the thing is that there are instances of this actually taking place, and there are market solutions around this that work very well. For example, Alcoa was a corporation, I believe still is a corporation, that controlled almost the entire aluminum market.
So you just believe it was? You don't know? And yeah, they still do. They still own most of the aluminum mines in the world, like certain companies own most diamond mines. And through that ownership, they have a huge capacity to manipulate the market, because if somebody tries to mess with them, they can flood the market and put them out of business.
Entire aluminum market. So what resulted was what a lot of people said, oh gosh, it's a crazy monopoly. It's going to control that entire aluminum market. We're not going to get aluminum. What happened is that you found other materials, other goods, that actually innovated during that time of Alcoa cornering the market on aluminum, and they provide alternatives to aluminum at a more affordable price. So those.
Yeah, and some of those alternatives might be at a higher social price in the long term in terms of pollution. So did we really gain anything in the first place? And we're also, the only reason why those other products became viable is because they became a little less expensive than the overpriced. So we're still getting overcharged for the basic service. We're just paying for some other commodity to be used in the building of it. So what? What is our huge gain? There is no huge gain. And Alcoa has such a diverse market that it's not even dependent on these individual little markets. Like I said, it's like the Google monster can afford to lose money here and over here as long as it has this, and this that it can exploit at any one time to make its money.
Types of metals were actually used as an alternative to Alcoa. So there are market solutions to get around these types of problems that you briefly addressed. In terms of, I'm just going down the list of some of the stuff you brought up. In terms of regulations, you talked about the fact that you have two options for regulations. Either the government enforces the regulations on people and fines them, or you have a free market regulation where, not really regulation, but it's fraud, and you go to court and you sue somebody for fraud for defrauding you with an inferior product. Let me assure you that competition works much more efficiently and weeds out bad products, inferior products, better than bureaucracies do. And in fact, what it does is it essentially regulates.
No, it doesn't, though. That's the stupid part of it. The free market doesn't demand that the best product be made. It only demands that the most profitable product be made, or be made in the most profitable manner. That's what people will invest in. They give their stock money to stocks that go up, stocks that find ways to make more money making the product, not ways of making the product more efficiently. And there's a limited market to be exploited. There's only this much market. The market doesn't increase, generally speaking. There's only a certain number of people who are going to buy that certain product. And having a fight about who gets to sell it to people, well, that fight can get very expensive to the consumer. All right, so the consumer's not winning if a bunch of people are trying to undercut each other all the time and are going bankrupt, which becomes a social liability. The society pays the price. The consumer pays the price for those failures. So it's just bullshit to say that somehow we are winning when idiots are competing in stupid manners and stupid convoluted ways over trying to sell us a product.
Businesses, before they put out those products, businesses don't even reach that point of defrauding people. And the way that we know that this is the case is because we have over a $13 trillion economy, and you have way less than 1% of those materials through fraud. And it's not the
Oh, well, you just made that up. I mean, come on, we have way less than 1%. I mean, how much of the internet is fraud? What percentage of the pages on the internet, has everybody done a survey of actual web pages on the internet are basically fraud, where somebody has copied somebody else's content, where what they're stating is on the page isn't on the page, where they've manipulated keywords or references to get higher indexes on keywords that they're not relevant to. I mean, the whole thing is made out of frickin' fraud. How much fraud is in the email system? How much spam? How much weight of the total bandwidth is being consumed by fraud, by bullshit, by unsolicited manipulation of the tool that has no standards? What industries don't create is standards. That's what you need regulation to do, to create a standard, to say this is how you're going to play baseball. Okay, you're only going to be able to use a bat this long, and it's going to be this heavy, and you're only going to be able to wear spikes this long on your shoes. And they make rules so everybody can play the game in some sort of rational manner. And that's what regulation does. It has nothing to do with picking and choosing winners and losers. It has to do with setting the standards for the game. And the game has to have standards. And the players themselves will not make standards, okay? Because the